So you're standing in the plumbing aisle staring at two push fittings that do the exact same thing, but one costs $3 and the other one costs 8 or 9. And you're thinking to yourself, is the expensive one really 3 times better? Or am I just paying for a fancy name on the package? That's exactly what we're going to find out today. I'm going to take cheap push fittings and SharkBite push fittings, install them side by side, pressure test them, try to pull them apart, and give you an honest answer on whether the premium price is actually worth it. And stick around to the end, because I've got a tip on when you should never use any push fitting, cheap or expensive, that could save you from a disaster down the road. Push fittings have been one of the biggest game changers in residential plumbing over the last 15 or 20 years. No soldering, no crimping, no special tools. You push the pipe in, the teeth grab, the O-ring seals, and you've got a watertight connection in about 2 seconds. But here's the thing. SharkBite basically created the market, and now there are a dozen budget brands sitting right next to them on the shelf. The question everyone asks me is whether those cheaper options are just as reliable or whether you're gambling with your home every time you save a few bucks. I've used both on real jobs over the years, and the answer is a little more nuanced than most people think. So let me walk you through exactly how these fittings work, how to install them the right way, and then we'll put them head to head and see what happens. Before we get into the install, let's talk about what's actually inside a push fitting so you understand what you're paying for. Every push fitting, regardless of brand, has the same basic components. You've got a collet, which is that ring of stainless steel teeth that grabs onto the pipe and keeps it from pulling out. Behind that sits an O-ring, and that's your actual water seal. Then there's the release collar, which is the piece you press down when you want to remove the fitting. And finally, there's the body itself, which is usually made of brass or a composite material called DZR brass, which stands for dezincification resistant. That's important because standard brass can break down over time when it's in constant contact with water, especially if your water is aggressive or has a low pH. Now here's where the differences start to show up between cheap and expensive. SharkBite uses DZR brass across their entire line. Some of the budget fittings I've pulled apart over the years use standard brass, which can develop pinhole leaks after several years. The O-rings also vary in quality. SharkBite uses a specific EPDM O-ring that's rated for both hot and cold lines up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Some of the cheaper brands use similar materials, but the tolerances aren't always as tight. And tolerances matter when you're relying on a rubber ring to keep water inside a pipe for the next 20 years. The brands we're comparing today are SharkBite on the expensive side, and on the budget side, we're looking at fittings from brands like Watts and some of the store brand options you'll find at the big box stores. A half-inch SharkBite coupling runs about $8 to $9 depending on where you shop. The budget equivalents usually come in between $2.50 and $4. So you're looking at roughly double to triple the cost for the name brand. Let's see if that price difference holds up. For tools, you're going to need a pipe cutter. I recommend a ratcheting style cutter for PEX and a tube cutter for copper. You'll also need a deburring tool or a piece of fine grit sandpaper, a permanent marker, and a SharkBite depth gauge or a simple ruler. You don't need much, and that's the whole appeal of push fittings. But what you do need to get right is your pipe preparation, because that's where 90% of push fitting failures actually come from. It's not the fitting, it's the prep. Let's start with the most important step in this entire process. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this is where most people go wrong. Pipe preparation. If you mess this up, it doesn't matter whether you spent $3 or $9 on your fitting. It's going to leak. First, you need a clean, square cut. That means the end of your pipe has to be perfectly straight not angled, not jagged, not crushed. If you're working with copper, use a proper tube cutter and rotate it around the pipe nice and slow. Don't crank down the handle too fast, or you'll create a ridge on the inside of the pipe. If you're working with PEX, use a ratcheting PEX cutter and make sure the blade is sharp. A dull blade will compress the pipe instead of cutting it cleanly, and that compressed edge won't seal right against the O-ring. Once you've got your cut, you need to deburr the pipe. This means removing any rough edges, any little shavings or ridges left behind from the cutting process. On copper, I use the built-in deburring blade on my tube cutter. On PEX, I'll use a utility knife and just carefully shave off any lip or unevenness around the edge. Here's why this matters so much. That O-ring inside the fitting is your seal. If a burr or a rough edge catches the O-ring on the way in, it can nick it or roll it out of position. And a damaged O-ring is a leaking fitting, every single time. After deburring, take your marker and measure 1 inch from the end of the pipe and make a line all the way around. That's your insertion depth mark for a 1/2 inch fitting. For 3/4 inch fittings, you're looking at 1 1/8 inches. This mark tells you the pipe is fully seated inside the fitting. If you push the fitting on and your mark is still visible, you're not in far enough. The pipe needs to go past the O-ring and past the collet teeth for a proper connection. I can't tell you how many service calls I've been on where someone used a push fitting, didn't push it in far enough, and had a slow drip behind a wall for months before they noticed. By the way, if you are finding this helpful, you should know this is just a taste of what I have put into my book. 50 easy plumbing fixes that will save you $10,000. It covers everything from leaky faucets to running toilets, step by step with diagrams. You can grab your copy by scanning the QR code on screen right now, or just use the first link in the description below. All right, let us keep going. Now let's install the budget fittings first. I'm using a store brand 1/2 inch coupling on 1/2 inch copper pipe. Pipe is cut, deburred, and marked at 1 inch. I'm pushing the fitting straight onto the pipe. No twisting, no angling, just a firm straight push. You should feel 2 distinct points of resistance. The first is the pipe passing through the collet teeth. The second is the pipe seating past the O-ring. Once you're past both, check your mark. If it disappeared into the fitting, you're fully seated. Now I'll be honest, the budget fitting went on fine. The resistance felt normal, the pipe seated at the right depth, and everything looks good from the outside. But here's something I noticed. The release collar on this budget fitting feels a little loose. It has more play than I'd like. On a SharkBite, the release collar is precise and firm. You press it down, and there's a definitive feel to it. On this one, it's a little sloppy. That doesn't necessarily mean it'll leak, but it does tell me the manufacturing tolerances aren't as tight. The other thing I'll mention is the brass on this budget fitting is noticeably lighter. SharkBite fittings have a solid, hefty feel. This one feels thinner. Again, that's a tolerance and material quality issue. It might perform perfectly for years, or the thinner walls might be more susceptible to stress over time. That's the gamble. Now let's do the SharkBite. Same setup. 1/2 inch coupling on 1/2 inch copper pipe, cut, deburred, marked at 1 inch. Pushing it on, and immediately I notice the resistance feels more consistent. The collet grabs firmly, the pipe slides past the O-ring smoothly, and the fitting seats with a solid, confident feel. My depth mark is completely hidden. Everything about this install just feels more precise. The release collar is snug with no wobble. The brass has a nice weight to it. You can feel the quality in your hand. And I know that sounds subjective, but when you've done this a few thousand times, you develop a sense for what a reliable connection feels like. Both fittings are installed. Now let's put some pressure on them. I'm going to pressurize this system to 80 pounds per square inch, which is typical household water pressure. Most homes run between 40 and 80 psi, so we're testing at the upper end of normal. Both fittings are holding at 80 psi. No drips, no weeping, no movement. I'm going to leave them under pressure for 30 minutes and come back. After 30 minutes, both fittings are still bone dry. No leaks whatsoever. So at normal household pressure, the cheap fitting performed identically to the SharkBite. Now let's push it further. I'm cranking the pressure up to 150 psi, which is well above normal residential pressure, but simulates what happens during a pressure spike or water hammer event. At 150 psi, both fittings are still holding. No leaks, no visible deformation. I'm honestly not surprised by this because both fittings are rated for 200 psi, and at least under brand new conditions, they're both performing to spec. Here's where things get interesting. Let's test removal and reusability. SharkBite advertises their fittings as removable and reusable. Most budget brands make the same claim. I'm going to remove both fittings using their release collars and inspect the O-rings. The SharkBite came off cleanly. I pressed the release collar down, gave the pipe a slight twist, and it slid right out. The O-ring inside looks perfect. No nicks, no deformation, no wear marks. This fitting could go right back on, and I'd trust it completely. The budget fitting was a different story. The release collar required more force to press down, and the pipe didn't want to come out smoothly. I had to work it back and forth a few times. When I finally got the pipe out and looked at the O-ring, it had a slight indentation and one small mark along the edge. Would I reuse this fitting? Probably not. That O-ring might seal fine, or that little mark might develop into a slow drip in 6 months. I wouldn't bet my basement drywall on it. And that right there is the real difference. On a first install, both fittings performed identically. But when it comes to longevity, reusability, and the quality of the internal components, the SharkBite has a clear edge. If you're doing a permanent install in an accessible spot where you're never going to touch it again, a quality budget fitting with proper pipe preparation will probably serve you just fine. But if you need to reuse the fitting, if it's in a location where you might need to service it down the road, or if you want the peace of mind that comes with tighter manufacturing tolerances, SharkBite is worth the extra money. Let's go over some common issues people run into with push fittings and how to handle them. First, the fitting leaks immediately after installation. 9 times out of 10, this is a pipe preparation problem. Either the pipe wasn't deburred properly and a burr nicked the O-ring, or the pipe wasn't pushed in far enough. Remove the fitting, inspect the O-ring, deburr the pipe again, and reinstall with a fresh fitting if the O-ring is damaged. Second, the fitting leaks after a few weeks or months. This usually means the pipe had a scratch or score mark that slowly wore through the O-ring over time. It can also mean the pipe was slightly out of round, which is common with PEX that's been kinked or bent too sharply. Replace the fitting with a new one and cut back to fresh, undamaged pipe. Third, the fitting won't go on the pipe. This is almost always because there's a burr on the outside of the pipe catching the cullet teeth, or the pipe diameter is slightly oversized. Sand the outside of the pipe lightly with fine grit sandpaper and try again. Fourth, the pipe pulls out of the fitting under pressure. This is rare but serious. It means the cullet teeth didn't engage properly, usually caused by pushing the pipe in at an angle instead of straight on, or by using the wrong size fitting for the pipe diameter. Always double check that your fitting size matches your pipe size exactly. Fifth, you hear dripping behind a wall but can't see anything. Push fittings can develop slow seepage that travels along the pipe before dripping at a different spot. If you suspect a hidden leak, pressurize the system and check with a moisture meter or infrared camera. Don't sit on this one. A slow leak behind drywall can cause thousands of dollars in damage before you ever see a stain. All right, here's that bonus tip I promised you at the beginning. There are situations where you should never use any push fitting, no matter how much it costs. If you're working on a line that's going to be buried in a concrete slab or enclosed in a wall without an access panel, most plumbing codes require soldered, crimped, or otherwise permanent connections. Push fittings are considered mechanical connections, and many jurisdictions don't allow them in concealed, inaccessible locations. Even where code does technically allow it, I personally wouldn't do it. The reason is straightforward. Every push fitting relies on a rubber O-ring, and rubber degrades over time. In an accessible location, that's no big deal. You spot a drip, swap the fitting in 2 minutes, and move on with your day. But behind a finished wall or under a concrete slab, a failed O-ring means tearing out drywall or jackhammering concrete. That $3 fitting just became a $3,000 repair. Save your push fittings for exposed runs, utility areas, under-sink connections, and emergency repairs, where you can get to them easily. For anything permanent and concealed, take the extra time to solder or crimp. Your future self will thank you for it. All right, that is the full breakdown. Remember, every single plumbing fix I wish homeowners knew about is in my book, 50 Easy Plumbing Fixes That Will Save You $10,000. Scan the QR code on screen right now or grab it from the first link in the description. I appreciate you watching, and if you want more of these practical fixes, make sure to subscribe. I will see you in the next one.